If you are planning to summon for the #1 DPS, Sukuna, well, he's going to be coming out in a couple of hours, and we're going to be going over his best skills to upgrade, his teams, and his recollection bits, and breaking down his kit. So, I will be streaming a couple hours after this video is up. Unfortunately, I cannot stream the minute he comes out. I wish I could. I apologize. But we will be there very soon, so check out the stream nevertheless. Now, Sukuna, we're going to break it down. Check the timestamps on the video to see what part you are interested in. Even to this day on JP, he remains the #1 DPS, and I made a video last night talking about if you should summon, so check it out to see if you are personally interested. With all that said, let's get into the video. We are going to start by talking about his kit. So what exactly is Sukuna doing? We're going to break that down almost to a T. Here we go. Sukuna's ult gauge is 1558, so it's pretty high, but for him, it's going to be fine. His stats are actually very good. They are comparable around to Tinjo's level of stats, which is definitely pretty good. Now, the skill 1 is going to be increasing your ult gauge by 100 and adding a laceration stack. So laceration stacks is going to be a damage over time that he's going to add to. For the rest of the video, I'm going to refer to it as a DOT or a dot. All right. Now, this 100 ult gauge is nice. However, you're not going to find yourself using this skill 1 much. What you're going to be using in general, especially if you're using Pride, is going to be the skill 2. So the skill 2 and why you would use it is because it's taijutsu only, first of all. And second of all, it's actually going to give you a self buff. So it's going to give you crit rate and crit damage. Now, the good thing about this is it uses 0 cursed energy. So you can use this at any time for free. Now, the thing is with this is you can only stack it twice. So remember, 2 turns before your ult, you're going to start using this one, so you could use this twice, and then you're going to ult. Now, we're going to actually go to the ult and then the skill 3 because the ultimate is more important in this case to follow up with. Now, you're going to see here it gives him 90% crit rate total, and the reason is because he has 10% crit rate on this. Why is that important? Well, you could see from other units. We could pull up Red Maki. Her crit rate is 80. Yuta, his crit rate is 40. On average, the crit rate you'll see is 40. His crit rate is 10, a fourth of that, right? So why they make it up, or why they put it to 10% is because he gets the crit rate here. And if it was any higher, I mean, he'd be pumping out way too much damage on average. Now, why his ult is very good is for multiple reasons, but it's mainly the AoE ult damage of 1684%. Right, so this is going to be huge levels of damage, okay? And it also does help that his stats are high, but this is also going to be pretty good counting that he's going to be getting some crit damage in here, which is definitely going to be huge, alongside him being able to be ran with amazing, phenomenal supports. Now, what they decided to do is just make him absolutely busted to where it also adds laceration stacks. And every stack of laceration increases the damage of laceration by 20%. So if you have 4 stacks, each laceration in total should, by the wording, be increased by 80%, okay? It's not added like one by one. All 4 of them are going to be at the same damage increase. So the more laceration stacks you have, the bigger the damage. Keep that in mind. We're going to need to talk about that. Now, this damage is going to be huge because this is minimum 200% per turn, but we know that because it adds per stack, this 200% per turn is quickly going to go over to an extra 1000%. So just by the laceration damage, to keep in mind, the laceration damage alone is going to be higher than what Blue Gojo's ult is. Just the laceration damage. Keep that in mind. Now, he's also going to go into skill restriction status, which means he could only use his skill 2, okay? And he cannot charge ult for 3 turns, which can be a bit detrimental to his kit, but you could almost always work around it. I've worked around it. You could work around it. Now, the next thing is that it's going to increase his cursed energy by 100 and recover 200 cursed energy. So if you've been saving CE, you are going to be able to use your skill 3 times, okay? Actually, I lied. Only twice. I mixed it up. You can only use it twice. My bad. So yeah, you're going to be able to use your skill 3 twice in a row. And you'll see what I mean. And yeah, so you're only going to be able to use after 2 turns your other skills. Now then, going on to the skill 3, why I saved it for last, is that you're going to actually get basically at 90 cursed energy, which remember, this gives 200 cursed energy, which maxes out your CE, right, to 200. You're going to be able to use this twice in a row, and it's going to be a 1200% single target, which also applies more laceration stacks. Now, why the laceration stacks are important is because this is going to, like it says here, increase the laceration damage of the ults laceration damage. So you're going to be able to do two 1200% that also inflict bleed, which might bring this up essentially to like a 1500 fucking percent ult, right? So it's absolutely insane the amount of damage over the 4 turns you're going to be doing with Sukuna. And it's going to be amazing. If you're able to basically do it to where Domain Gojo ults at the same time as Sukuna, you're going to get your full rotation in and allow for an ult, skill 2, and a skill 3. Now, why I'm saying 2 skill 2s is because you are forced to use the skill 2s for 2 turns in the skill restriction status. But what they decided to do is, first of all, make the skill 2 actually do pretty decent damage. So it has a base of 450%. However, you're going to get up to a 150, you are going to get a 150% damage increase because in skill restriction status, remember, the ult is going to give you an extra 200% energy, which maxes out this damage increase. So it's a 450% with a 150% damage increase, which is good considering you're also putting a debuff that increases the enemy's damage taken by 45%. And then you're going to be able to stack this one twice. Then your 90% damage increase from the skill 2 is going to make your last hit on the skill 3 even stronger. And then you could spam the skill 3 once again. So his kit works very well in tandem. To finish it off, when he gets hit, he gets heals, right? And it depends on how big and how many hits he's going to get. And the second one, he's pretty much resistant to everything. It's kind of crazy. And then he's going to get a damage increase when he performs a crit. Now, keep in mind, the skill 2 actually has 70% crit rate. And then also he's going to get extra crit rate. So you're pretty much always going to get this the turn before. So when you use your ult, you're going to pretty much guaranteed have this extra 20% crit damage, which is pretty nice. And then when you do get hit for 3000 damage or more, you have a 50% chance of taking or of getting a taijutsu and jujutsu buff. So now that we're done that, let's get into which skills you want to upgrade. Pretty much it goes from biggest to smallest. Your ult first, your skill 3 second, your skill 2 third, and your skill 1 last, right? So prioritize from right to left in terms of what you upgrade. The ult is most important. What you're going to do is get everything to before you use chaos crystals, and I think you would only use chaos crystals on the skill 3 and the ult. The rest could stay below the chaos crystal value and you will be living just fine. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go over his recollection bits. So by far the only recollection bit I really recommend to people is going to be pride. I think it works in every single scenario. There's almost no scenario where pride doesn't work. So I would recommend you people to actually use pride. Now, how you're going to use this, just to make sure it's understood, because I'm not just recommending you the recollection bit, I'll tell you guys how to use it, is that basically pride, what happens is that you could stack this. Okay, you could stack this twice. It lasts for 8 turns and you could use it after 5 turns once again. So you can get 2 stacks of 60%. So how you could make this work is you keep on using your skill 2. Okay, you keep on using your skill 2 and you use your skill 3 once when you can, because you will get the 90% energy before your ult. So you could do that. You could use up 1 stack, and then after that continue using your skill 2, restack pride, then use your ult, and then you obviously are going to have that second stack, or well, like available for the skill 3 after the ult. Now you could also just skill 2 your whole way through, and why you would do that is because this is taijutsu, so it will not use up these stacks of jujutsu, right? That, hope that makes sense, right? Okay, so how you could do it is just use your skill 2 and then you save both hits of the 60% jujutsu, the 2 times, both for the ult and then afterwards for the skill 3 if possible, and you could go about it like that. I hope you guys know how to pride stack. The game's been out for a while. If you don't know how, just check out a Discord. Someone's going to help you out. Now, besides that, the only real recollection bit besides that I would maybe recommend, I mean, non-standard works, but it's not that good. If you want to get your ult a bit quicker, that's cool. I still don't recommend it. The Sukuna one, I don't think is the best either, but it's okay. It gives you a blue damage increase for 2 turns. However, that's not going to be for the skill 3. It's only going to be for the ult and then the skill 2 afterwards, so it's not that good, which is why pride is better, because it's going to increase the ult damage and the skill 3 in the ult status, right? So I don't think this is going to be that good of one, so it's really only non-standard or pride. I don't really see people using many others, and I don't recommend many others unless it's for a very niche team. So in general, I recommend almost everyone to run pride. Now in terms of team comps, let's do those right now. In terms of sweep, this is going to be the team comp. Now, Ghetto can be replaced by Gaku Ganji, and remember, Gaku Ganji will be on standard banner in around July or August. Now, why this works is because, let's talk about it. This is going to give a stat buff, a stat debuff. These two are multiplicative against each other, and these are multiplicative against the Wing Gojo's debuff. Now, remember, damage increase and damage decrease are additive, right? So that's why there's only 1 damage increaser when there's 2 stat increasers. So, what to keep in mind is Kaido is going to die pretty much in the second phase of sweep, okay? And I know sweep's not out, but it's going to be out in 2 weeks. So I think this is useful information. So this is going to be a taunt. He's going to die off, and then Domain Gojo comes in. And then that's pretty much the optimal team comp in general. If you're trying to get a big nuke, this is the team comp. These 4 units right here is the team comp, okay? You got Yaga for the stat buffs, multiplicative against Gakuganji's stat debuffs, multiplicative against Domain Gojo's damage increase. These 3 together are going to be amazing for Sukuna. Sukuna does not have stat buffs. Sukuna does not have stat debuffs. Sukuna does have damage increases technically, but it's not to an insane level. And that's why these 3 work. Comparatively to other units, Sukuna, it has basically bigger multipliers than the rest, which is why having all the buffers is great for him, because he's not really having these buffs, but because of his super high multipliers, he's going to profit off of it in almost the same vein / higher than how Honored One will, because Honored One has insane stat buffs but lower multipliers because Sukuna's laceration stacks are fucking nuts, right? That's basically it. So this is going to be the nuking team comp, okay? This is the nuking team comp by far, okay? Almost like without a doubt, especially for the lower floors or also for sweep. Now then, if you are doing a mono team, you will actually run it, like the best mono team will include a blue Miwa, and then it will probably be blue Momo, because you can't, remember, from floor 70 and above, you cannot run non-blue units, and in general, you're going to want to run blue units moving forward after 60. I'm trying to find Momo. Momo's here. And then the last slot is going to be either blue Inumaki or blue Ghetto. I have blue Ghetto, so there we go. Now, can you run maybe a dual DPS? Sure. But in general, blue Ghetto or blue Inumaki work the best for the slot. But if you want to run someone else, you could. But there are some instances where you're going to have to run a team comp like this, which is why these floors are not free to play at fucking all. So this is going to be maybe another team comp for mono blue that I personally enjoy using, right? It is pretty good. Now for some other floors, maybe you could put one like non-blue unit, but in general, this is probably how it's going to look once again. Teams are very like rigid. You could say they're very, very rigid. Okay. Now, in terms of buffers, right? If you need, I mean, everyone should have Yaga, but other options would be like Red Nanami. Of course, we have Green Gakuganji. We have Mai. If you don't have Domain Gojo for some fucking reason, I know some people will start soon, but at the same time, you know, I mean, it does suck Domain Gojo's banners in there, but that's kind of how the game works, right? In terms of all that shit. So like there are a couple other options, like Kaido can maybe work, but the teams I offered right now are pretty much the best. For mono, this is the team I used, and in general, it's either Blue Inumaki or Blue Ghetto, and this is the best team comp for this. We talked about the 3 type of team variations, the one for sweep, the one for max damage, and then also the one for mono blue team compositions. So that pretty much finishes off the video. If you have any questions, let me know down below, and let me know if you're going to be summoning for the GOAT himself, who should be coming out in a couple of hours. Hope to see you guys for the stream. Thank you guys for watching this video. Bye-bye.